Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest version of Tales from Outer Space, where I take an HFY story from somewhere around the internet and read it aloud for your enjoyment. All the relevant links are down below. Like, subscribe, and all that YouTube gumph to help this video and channel grow. Anyways, as always, I hope that you enjoy. I would just like to thank the following Tier 5 patrons and channel members for supporting the channel: FallenAngel, BuzzKillington, Datamagnet, and Bob the Dragon. Thank you again. And now, on to the story. Story number 1. Beware the Warriors of Earth. Written by EchoingCascade. The invasion of the Issarak Empire had been sudden, massive, and very, very polite. They had sent encoded messages to the Terran central government, announcing that a full rotation later they would send a planet-wide message with their intentions to invade them and to prepare the population for their speech. The government tried their best to spread the information while preventing panic. It didn't work. Seeing the Issarak's message was modified from the original objective, the message was broadcast through Earth. "We'll wait for your population to calm down, then we'll explain the formalities of the invasion. But we want to make it clear, we do not have any plans to enslave or otherwise harm the population. The forms will be sent to your government to be filled in triplicates." The general panicking, rioting, and looting came to an abrupt stop at this, the feelings of impotence and fear replaced with one of befuddlement. The Issarak ambassador was a female Ursus, bipedal, vaguely humanoid but lacking a face. She met the human delegation in front of the Terran embassy. It had been built as a sort of joke by an eccentric billionaire obsessed with space exploration years ago. Today, the joke was no longer funny. Ursus ambassador: "Hello, my name is Lbry. I will explain the process of the invasion and will answer any questions you may have." The delegation was composed of General Jean-Pierre Lbry, the newly appointed ambassador Christopher Davidson, and Senator Millard, a former lawyer. Before any of them could ask any questions such as, "Why are you doing this? What is the Issarak Empire? How can you speak with no mouth? Or why a single copy of forms never enough?" she made a motion with her hand to stop them. "Sorry, I will explain anything that is not clear after you've read this document." She handed him a large paper, or more accurately a paper-like book titled, "So you've been invaded, the do's and don'ts." "Sorry, I will return in 3 full rotations." She then got up and left the room, while the 3 present looked at the book like it had held the answer to life itself, which it might, for all they knew. The next day, the book was scanned, but the digital version was sent to all members of the Terran High Council, who had their own people go over every inch of the document. By the time the Issarak ambassador returned, the human delegation had a much better understanding of the situation. The Issarak used to be a violent, warmongering race that subjugated multiple species through force, but as more and more species joined their empire, they were forced to change their ways. The process of conquest was no longer done at the point of a spear, but by careful uplifting of lesser advanced races. Humanity had been found by a long-range probe, and the Issarak had launched their invasion. When the next meeting took place, Ambassador Davidson asked for access to the Issarak information network and 8 full rotations to make their decision. Lbry was very happy to give him what they had asked for. The fact that he'd cited the relevant articles and precedents proved beyond a doubt that humanity was ready to join the Empire. When she met the delegations, her hopes were dashed as they asked for ritual combat. Their army would meet the Issarakari elite soldiers in standard month. If they win, they would be left alone. If they lose, they would become a vassal state of the Empire. With a heavy heart, she left and contacted the military fleet. There was going to be blood, and a few scans of Earth's military infrastructure made it clear that they were preparing enough weapons and equipment to outfit the whole planet, if need be. Not that it would help, she thought to herself. She had seen proud Deathwarders defy the Empire before. They were broken and repurposed as foot soldiers, and they would only be made members of the Empire after 2 of their generations. On the day of the battle, she arrived alongside Warlord Trissom, a cybernetically enhanced Immer, a race of insectoid lizards which comprised a bulk of the Empire army. When she saw the human delegation, her shock was visible to all. A great feat for someone without a face. Lbry, where is your army, General Lbry? Lbry, General, why? He then took an odd object that he slung around his back. Warlord Trissom, suspecting a weapon, interposed himself between the general and the alien ambassador. General Lbry started playing the guitar as he sang, Quant les hommes vivront d'amour, ce sera la poisse la terre. Les soldats seront not troubadours, mas nos serons morts monsprere. To say Lbry was confused would be an understatement. Warlord Trissom thought it was an odd war song, but he didn't really care about the culture's eccentricities. Before General Lbry could sing the next couplet, Ambassador Davidson talked to the Isserek representative. As you can see, we have no general. As a matter of fact, we have no armies. Lbry was still confused, but rallied admirably. What do you mean? Your entire military infrastructure has been working day and night to arm your citizens. Senator Miller put a hand on Davidson's shoulder. If you don't mind, sir. Davidson, please, Senator. Senator Miller looked at Lbry with a grin of malevolence. We read your book, we scoured your network, we learned your history and found your laws very interesting. Warlord Trissom was used to facing intimidating enemies, monstrous creatures of flesh, bones, chitin, metal, and other materials. Yet this tiny human was far more terrifying while talking in a clear and even gentle voice. Senator Miller, the moment your army set foot on Earth, you violated several of your own laws. Would you like me to cite them for you? Lbry was now quite angry. We broke no laws. We responded to your challenge to ritual combat. Senator Miller interrupted her, not by screaming like she was, but by speaking very quietly. We have no armies. We have no weapons. Your invasion is thus illegal by Isserek law. Lbry seemed to be hyperventilating, and Warlord Trissom was just confused. He crossed his arms and looked at the scene with complete detachment. His job was to fight, not to negotiate after all. But you had billions of soldiers, even more weapons, and your manufactories and industries have increased their output by 100%. Senator Miller smiled, more candidly this time. We didn't make more weapons and equipment. We destroyed what we had and then found new jobs for every soldier. Former General Lbry turned into a very good singer. He looked at the former general, and admiration in his eyes. Lbry had understood the cowardly trick the humans were trying to employ, and would not stand for it. Warlord Trissom, prepare to subjugate this planet, by force! Senator Miller's smile faded, and he raised his voice for the first time since the meeting had begun. You can't. Keeping to your laws is the only reason your empire hasn't crumbled yet. Did you forget why you have them? You conquered too many species, too fast, and one day you found yourselves surrounded and outnumbered by people who hate your guts. So you created these silly little rules to appease them, to make them conquests more palatable, so they wouldn't join forces and obliterate you. How long would your empire last if word got out that you took this planet by force? Lbry was now slowly moving behind Warlord Trissom. She was shaking. Very well, we'll leave. Ambassador Davidson coughed lightly. I'm afraid we can't let you leave just yet. Lbry stopped shaking long enough to make an inquiry. Why? Ambassador Davidson, we still haven't made our demands regarding compensation for this illegal invasion. We seem to be short on weapons at the moment. Could you see to it to provide some of yours? Lbry couldn't talk, move, or breathe after hearing this, and Warlord Trissom, he simply broke into laughter. That was a decade ago. Thanks to the weapons of the Isserek so generously provided humanity, they kept their freedom and became well known as soldiers of fortune. a saying became popular inside the Iseric Empire. Beware the warriors of Earth, and fear their lawyers. End of story. Story number 2. Inertial Dampeners, written by FreelancerAgentWash. Humans are a strange species. I'll explain why in a moment, but first, some context. After a species fully establishes a self-sustaining colony on another planet in their solar system, the Galactic Federation of Species initiates first contact protocol with them to welcome them to the galactic community. Part of the first contact protocol is a data packet that contains everything that they would need to know to integrate into galactic society, including languages, cultural norms, galactic and political maps, and probably the most important, the basic tech blueprints for all of the most common technologies for building spacecraft. Now, most other species, after receiving these blueprints, rush to complete as many spaceships with as many of the new technologies as they can in as short a time as possible, humans included. But the strange things about humans has to do with how they treat inertial dampeners. Every other species out there follows the same basic guidelines when it comes to the settings of the inertial dampeners on their ships. Cargo areas are set to 100%, as having your cargo subjected to intense acceleration could damage some of the more fragile items. Passenger areas also have it set at 100%. There are different reasons for each species, but the two most common are that they can't handle the acceleration, and the others find traveling into space can be too terrifying without years of training. So, for the passengers, it is as if they simply enter a normal building on one planet, and sometime later they exit on a different planet. Pilots have it set between 95 and 99.999% depending on species and how fast they are accelerating, with the exception of FTL jumps where it is set to 100%. This is so that pilots can feel how the craft is moving and react if they start moving in ways that they had not planned. Humans are strange because they are the only species to do something different. Here is how most human ships have their settings. Cargo, 100%. At least they saw the logic behind that one. Passengers, 100% when doing FTL jumps and the like. But almost all the rest of the time, the inertial dampeners are kept so that they can feel the ship accelerating all the time. At the fastest acceleration, the passengers experience forces of about 45 meters per second, lasting anywhere between a few seconds to several minutes. I know, I was astonished when I heard that as well. That is enough force to crush half of the species out there to death, cause major internal damage to 25%, and render another 15% unconscious, and give extreme discomfort to the remaining 10%. Now to clarify, not all human ships have their settings so low. In fact, I was told that the 45 meters per second was a little on the high side, with a bell curve centering around 20 meters per second, and even lower for senior citizen cruise lines. The pilots are even weirder, 99.999% for FTL, and a minimum setting that results in acceleration forces of about 90 meters per second. We are still trying to figure out how their pilots not only survive, but seemingly have no side effects. When asked why, they seem to refuse to fully utilize such an amazing piece of technology. If they did it to save power or something, the response was always the same. What's the point of going into space if you can't feel it? End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.